What is up, Los Angeles? Welcome to another edition of the Rams Skinny here on the LAFB network. We are Los Angeles Sports coming at you after a victory Thursday, 12-6. No touchdowns scored, but the Rams get it done up in Santa Clara, sweeping their division foe, San Francisco 49ers, moving to 8-6 on the season. Playoffs are basically in their control. Do what they need to do, and they're in the playoffs. Went out, they're in. Even if they, lose one, they can still get in, but we'll get all into that. First and foremost, my main man, my friend, the main manager of the entire LAFB network, Mr. Skinny T. What is up, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, but I feel like we should caveat this episode by saying, since we are NFL credentialed media, we contractually have to talk about Bill Belichick for at least 30 minutes. So if you just guys want to skip ahead of that conversation, just joking. Who cares? A football coach got a job coaching football. Holy cow.
Yeah, I know. That was the talk of the town when it happened. That's all the talk was. Yeah. So what are the other things that always get talked about? So during the game last night, obviously they bring up the Matthew Stafford trade. That gets brought up every time. Puka Nacua being a 5th round pick. I think that gets brought up every time. I'm sure there were others, but regardless, the Rams get it done. Real quick, let's pay the bill. Show is always brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. Head to betonline.ag today. All the best money lines, spreads, every sport you can imagine, just about everything you can imagine, you can wager on. You can do it all at betonline.ag, where the game starts. Telling the guys over at the LAFB network sent you. As we do every recap show, Skinny, I'll just let you start off with just some big picture thoughts of this game. I mean, it was a win. It was an ugly win. Defensively, they actually looked really, really good, which was great. We didn't, going in this game, I think we all picked the Rams in our live preview show with our good buddy Jesse Naylor, but I think we all picked a much higher scoring game. I think I had 31-27. You had like 27-24. No touchdowns. I think I saw it was the first time ever in the history of this rivalry there's been not a single touchdown scored.
Wow.
I think that's what I saw. If it wasn't the first time ever, it was definitely a very rare occurrence. So overall, big picture, what do you think coming away from this game?
A win is a win is becoming my least favorite phrase that I've ever that we've had to say it over and over again for this Rams team. Where we are 5 days removed from this offense looking on fire against the Buffalo Bills. Now, I understand that there's rain. I understand that this is a divisional opponent, but the second game under a McVay offense where they've scored no touchdowns in a game. It's, I think I got in some hot water with some of our Rams friends and family and fans that didn't like my criticism of the offense, specifically of Matthew Stafford. But I just asked you guys this, are you enjoying this offense? I am not. I'm not. I think, I think a lot of people saw, what they did against the Bills and said, "Oh, we're cooking with gas now. We're gonna plow through the rest of this schedule and find ourselves in the playoffs," which still might happen. I'm not gonna say that that's not the case, but I have no confidence that they can win against the Jets even. Because I don't know what version of this team is going to show up. I'll give the defense plenty of credit, especially in the secondary, especially without Cobie Durant out there playing. Mm-hmm. I was very worried about what Emmanuel Forbes might look like, what Akhello Witherspoon might look like with an increased snap share. But I think they did a fantastic job, and they beat up on a bad San Francisco team. Well, they didn't beat up on him, but they controlled him enough. I'll say that.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. The offense is just we've talked about this all season long. It's inconsistent. We've seen times where it's like, there it is. This is what the offense should look like. And then it's like, well, and there it is. This is what this offense is. And so we just don't know what we're going to get. The way I'll look at this in a positive way, I think offensively, is that they did it a different way than they did against the Bills. Against the Bills, they were cooking. Stafford looked great. Nacua, Kupp, everyone was getting involved. Obviously, 44 points scored. And in this game, 12 points, no touchdowns. Stafford, 160 yards, like a 50% completion percentage. Cooper Kupp, not a single catch in this game. For all you fantasy players that started your playoffs this week and had Cooper Kupp, that is unfortunate. But they did it in a different way in that the founder of the Run the Damn Ball Club, 29 carries for one Kyren Williams, 34 total carries in this game. I don't count the 4 from Stafford. They were trying to make like Lamar Jackson out there a couple times with Stafford. I didn't understand that, but 34 total carries between Kyren, Blake Corum, and Puka Nacua with 2 jet sweeps. Love that. So while the offense was not pretty, Stafford struggled again. Again, I get the weather. It rained. It's not every quarterback looks great in the rain, but playoff football, there's a big chance you could be playing in some weather if you have to go to Green Bay in the playoffs. Luckily, Detroit plays in a dome. The Rams obviously play at SoFi. There's a lot of teams that have that dome, but there's teams like Green Bay. If you get them on the schedule in the playoffs, you're going to be playing in probably snow and frigid temperatures. So you can't just excuse the weather for having 160 yards through the air, especially against a defense that the Rams, I thought, could have exploited in certain areas. So not great at that, but they got it done in a different way, committed to the run. Sean, how many times have we said 25 plus carries, you're going to win the ball game? 34 carries, baby. Let's go. I was fired up. We were chatting the whole game. I'm like, look at this, 29 carries for Kyren Williams. They were just running him into the ground, and he looked great and happy to do so. So that thrilled me that, hey, the passing game was not working. Matthew Stafford could not hit open guys. Even there, he had 2 Niners in the chest in the first 2 drives. And then there were, not saying they were easy throws, but just overthrows, trying to hit guys on those outposts that he used, like he hit last week with Puka Nacua on that great tightrope catch. He had a few of those attempts. They were way overthrown out of bounds. So it just wasn't there, but they ran the ball and got it done. So that was my big takeaway. Like, they ran the football. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, 108 yards for Kyren Williams. So you got to love that. I've said it over and over again. I'll say it once again. He's, probably the second best offensive weapon on this team right now. I'm not including Stafford in that, but don't run Stafford in the red zone ever again, please. They got trucked by, I think it was Talanoa Hufanga, and I don't want to see that ever again. Yeah, fight on. There we go. Special shout out on defense. Some incredible pressure numbers. Kobie Turner having a game, 6 pressures out there. Jared Verse doing it again, and Braden Fisk again. They're all over five pressures for the game. So definitely you could see you can see how to beat Brock Purdy, and 2 of them existed in this game. Weather certainly didn't look good with wet hands once again. I think he's got small hands.
It's like that Burger King commercial, holding the Whopper with like little hands.
That commercial cracks me up. And the other one that I can't see enough of is Andy Reid saying "fumble a rooski do." Like, I don't know why.
Yeah. Well
played. But that just tickles me every time. The fact that Andy Reid is just a big goofball at his heart, I just love that about him. Anyway,
I will still never get over that video clip of Andy Reid when he's 13 years old in like line for the kicking competition in like California, and he's like just a giant human being at 13. But anyway.
Yeah. Google that if you haven't seen that before. He's 6 feet tall, basically. It looks like probably
he's the size he is now as a 13-year-old. Like, he's just an
towering over the rest of the kids. It's very good. But I think Brock Purdy put in a bind, and some very fortuitous things happened for the Rams on some of those drives. Deebo Samuel wanted the ball real bad, and they gave it to him over and over again. And his biggest gain was on the last kick return. He was like, I'm gonna get some yardage. But I mean, it's I'm gonna go back to what I was saying. I'm not impressed. I'll go back to just kind of like a core principle of why I've been very critical of this offense is because Matthew Stafford is getting older. Now, 2 things can be true. Is he a top 10 quarterback still in my head? Absolutely. Are we seeing the cracks and the fissures and kind of the breaking down of what Matthew Stafford, his highest abilities can be? Yeah. You know, can he put together another, you know, fantastic out of his mind game where he hits Puka Nacua on just 0% chance catches? Absolutely. But what's the plan going forward? You know, 37-year-old Stafford next year, are they a playoff contender with that? And then what's the succession plan beyond that? So that's the reason I'm critical of it, is because I feel some urgency in this window right now with McVay, Stafford. You know, Kupps is also, I feel like, is closing. First time since 2019 he has been held to 0 catches in an entire game. Maybe longer than that. I saw it was the first time in the first half. That was something they threw up on the Thursday night football. So, yeah, there's just some urgency around this, and I think this team has incredible vibes, but those vibes are of a young team, not of a team where parts of it are coming to the end of their career.
Yeah. It's kind of like getting off topic a little bit here, but when you look at the Atlanta Falcons, and obviously we know Raheem and love Raheem Morris, who's coaching over there now, and they in this year's draft, 8th overall, took Michael Penix Jr. We were together during the draft, and everyone, not just us, were like, what? You just signed Kirk Cousins to this big deal, and you draft this quarterback with your first pick when you have a window now? I still don't necessarily agree with that pick, but with the play you're seeing from Kirk Cousins, it's kind of like, oh, it's probably good they drafted Penix, because now if they need to, they can play him now or for sure next year if Cousins does not improve. And that's kind of what it feels like with the Rams. And again, we're getting too far down in the future, but like there's no plan. Stafford, we're seeing the cracks. He looked great last week, didn't look great this week. Like, what is he going to look like next year? I mean, that's a whole nother year away. So that's a whole nother discussion. We'll see. We've talked many times about the no plan, but I'm just happy that they found a way this game to win without needing Stafford to look like a top 10 quarterback, because there's been many games he hasn't. I agree with you. I believe he is a top 10 quarterback in this league still. But we've seen many, many performances that were not top 10 performances this season, more than I think we ever have. And usually it's like, oh man, okay, he had a bad game. Like, this is now, what is this? I don't have it in front of me. Is this the 4th game he's thrown under 180 yards? Something like that.
I'll look that up while you're talking.
It's been quite a few now this year that was, and again, that's not everything. Yards per game is not like the most important stat. But when you're unable to, extend drives, when you're unable to get first downs, what was it, 5 straight drives without a first down in this game to start? And again, not to be overly critical, but the biggest thing in this game may have been Dre Greenlaw leaving and not coming back. And when he was on the field, the Rams could not get a first down. He leaves. We won't get into it too much because this isn't a Niners podcast, but you have Devondre Campbell deciding not to play. And so now you have, other backers in there with obviously Fred Warner, who's the best in football, but that was a huge difference maker. And it allowed the Rams to run up the middle better with Kyren Williams. It allowed Stafford a little bit more time, whether he's being QB spied by Greenlaw or not, because we know Greenlaw's just been a Rams killer over his career. I think you told me the great stat yesterday, 10 games of 10 plus tackles in his career. 4 of them have come against the Rams. So, I just saying all that, I just am pleased that they found a way to win without Stafford's best. Did you find the numbers?
Yeah, so there's been 3 games with under 200 yards, 183 against the New Orleans Saints, 160 in this game, and then 154 against the Raiders.
Yeah.
And the Niners have a good secondary. New Orleans and the Raiders do not.
Yeah.
So, obviously there's pressure that, affects that stuff, and the weather obviously definitely played a role in that. I mean,
and I want to be very clear, because I think you and I agree. So I don't want anyone, I know we've had a few people say like, oh, Matthew Stafford slander or whatever. Like, let me reiterate. I know we've said it many times, but we'll say it again. We both believe Matthew Stafford is and can be a top 10 quarterback still right now at his age in this league. We've seen it in specific games, but we have not seen it consistently, which is what they need to go on this run, not only to close out these 3 games and make the playoffs, but then to go on a run in the playoffs. If you're going to have to play at Detroit or at Green Bay or at Minnesota, crazy. That's all just the NFC North. If you're going to have to go through all that, Stafford's going to have to be at his best. But at least we know now from last night that Sean McVay, knowing he might not be at his best, will commit to the run and run 34 times. And the defense against a lackluster Niners offense really stood their ground. And Skinny, what I would be most excited about as a Rams fan is this defensive front is legit, and they're only going to keep getting better. I mean, so young, and they're just going to keep getting better. The defensive front is legit. If they get some ballers on the back end, which I think they have some talent there already, but maybe just one or two more like stars at either linebacker or the back end, this could be a top 10 defense next year. Like they're definitely not there yet. There's too many holes and miscommunications and stuff, but the talent on that front is so fun to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And Puka Nacua and Kyren Williams.
Yeah.
Blake Corum showing some nice things in this game as well, showing his potential as a pass catcher, as a blocker, as a runner. I think he had a really great game for the snaps that he had in this. The Rams improved to about a coin flip for their playoff chances, according to all these various prediction models and computerized analytics and things like that. So that's improved vastly over where they were, around 10% at some points in the season.
Yeah.
6%, I think, was the lowest I saw, depending on how you want to look at it. And in terms of the playoffs, you mentioned, several really good NFC North teams. Which team I would really be interested to see how they compete against is the Washington Commanders, who are that kind of really great vibes team, similar, but they are an up and coming team. With a brand new quarterback. So I would be really curious to see if they went toe to toe with them, because they're going to end up at the 3 or 4 seed, because they're the only way they're going to make probably the only way they're going to make the playoffs is if they win this division, which I think if you look at kind of where the Cardinals are trending and the schedule that the Seahawks have to play, they're going to the Vikings. They have to play the Vikings and the Packers over the next 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a fantastic chance to win this division. Anyway, point being is they're not going to be a low seed playing a high seed. They're going to be a high seed playing a low seed.
Yeah. And just on that point, like as it stands with 4 games for the rest of the league left, basically their best shot is winning the division. And then if they would able to squeak in with the final wild card spot, it would most likely be between them and the Washington Commanders you just mentioned, who sit at 8-5 currently. They play to end out the season. They play the Saints, the Eagles, the Falcons, and the Cowboys. So not a very fortuitous schedule. Obviously the Eagles is going to be a tough one for them. So they could drop to the same record as the Rams, 6 losses. I don't know what the tiebreaker is off the top of my head, but the easiest way is just win these next 3 and you're in no matter what. Whether you would win the division most likely, because I think you didn't have the tiebreaker of Seattle. So just do that and you're in. And that's an 11-win season. Starting off 1-3, that's impressive. 1-4, and you win 11 games.
Yeah, and I topped these guys off at 10-7 record. So that beats my best projections.
Yeah, exactly. So, sorry that Mia just came looking for her elves, Chippy and Snowy. You don't do it yet, obviously, but anyone out there listening with kids, Elf on the Shelf it's a real deal.
I went over to your guys' house. We were watching a game together, I think. I didn't know the rules, but you're not supposed to touch the elves because they lose their magic. So I hope Chippy's got his magic back.
She brings that up every day. Why did Uncle Ryan touch Chippy? Why did Uncle Ryan touch Chippy? Why did Uncle Ryan touch Chippy?
I don't know. I didn't know the rules. On a shelf.
No, Chippy comes back every night, every morning. He's here, so you're good. She was very concerned, though. So now you know. Now you know. No touching those elves. I think it's good. It's a good win. It's a division win. It wasn't pretty by any means. Stuff to work on, obviously, as we say every week. But I'm really proud how this team at least battled and got it done and found a different way to win. A 12-6 win when the concerns we've had over this defense, what we thought the offense was going to be after the past week, all of it was the opposite, basically, of what we kind of expected. It came down to when we talked about on the live with Jesse about would special teams play a factor, and it was the only factor.
Yeah.
All 18 points. Kickers. Moody and
they
Cardi.
made them all. Cardi and whatever his name is made them all. Moody.
Yeah. Moody and Cardi. So a Cardi up at Levi's for the Los Angeles Rams. Did you hear, last thing I'll say, pregame, I can't remember if it was Gonzalez, the whole crew, the Amazon crew. I can't remember if it was Gonzalez or if it was Ryan Fitzpatrick or Witt or Sherm. But one of them, they were talking about Puka Nacua and where they rank him among receivers. And whoever it was had him third. He had Jamar Chase and the other Vikings
Justin
receiver.
Jefferson.
Justin Jefferson has 1, 2, and Puka Nacua 3.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't know if that was well thought out or just on the spot, but it's great.
He's got to be up there. He
is so good.
Yeah.
Like you watch him play, and we've talked about receivers a lot, and I try to relate since I played not well, but I played a little bit in high school. But we talk about how it's such a dependent position. Like there's so many factors that you have to rely on in order to even get the football in the first place. And some receivers, it's like, well, how much are they just a product of the system and just getting peppered the ball? And me and you never questioned that, but it was like, as great as Nacua's season was, like he had 105 targets. Like how much does that actually relate to just getting so much fed? But you watch him play, his style, his hands, his size, his speed. Like he is an elite receiver, and how he was not drafted higher in the 5th round, which when he drafted, me and you talked about, I think it was just injuries and production, just because he got injured decent amount over college. He transferred once, came out of BYU his final years. So I think it was just that, because I mean, the talent and athleticism is there. It's not some fluke. Dude's legit.
Yeah, I think he has one of those X factors that I think specifically the Rams are always looking for in draft picks and undrafted rookies for that matter, is just kind of a tenaciousness and a desire to get better and to continue to improve. And there are stories after stories about how he's just been hugging Cooper Kupp's leg, following him around as much as possible, trying to learn everything that he can from one of the greats to do it in the Rams building. So, he's improved his diet, his sleeping habits, his route running. I don't know if he got rid of those old clunky shoes yet or not, but
the old Monarchs that looked like he ran around in.
Yeah. But I think, top 3, I like that's big. That's higher than I would rate him. And obviously those guys know a lot more about football than I do.
Yeah. So, I mean, he's legit. So, and it just shows too that at that level, at the NFL level, the talent is so close together that those little tiny things that you mentioned, changing sleep habits, changing diet, changing your study habits, can make all the difference, from being a super talented receiver that everyone thinks is maybe top 25 to being Puka Nacua, who is now getting talked about top 3. So those little things make all the difference when you're talking about the best of the best in the NFL, because they all have uber talented. I don't care if you're drafted 1st overall or 256th overall. If you're in the league, you're one of the best in the world at what you do. I mean, there's bad at the numbers, but 55 on every roster. I mean, there's under 1,000 players in this league in the world. You're all damn good, but those little things make a difference. And for Puka Nacua, it's been great and fun to watch. And glad he's on our team, Skinny, and glad you're on my team. Another great show in the books. We'll keep it short and sweet today. I am actually heading up to the mountains, little weekend getaway with the fam. So we're going to try to beat the traffic. So we wanted to hop on the 1s and 2s real quick. Talk about a great Rams win, 12-6, move to 8-6 on the year. Playoffs are in their sights. Control their own destiny, which is all you can ask for. Amazing what this team has transformed from 1-4 to now 8-6, controlling their own destiny. So, hats off. And last thing I'll say, did you have something else to say?
Tyler Higbee back in the lineup potentially for the Jets game. So that's something that we've had our eye on, just because they've missed that kind of just in 3rd down situations in red zone. I think he's such an important player.
Huge.
So we'll see how he looks at the very least after coming back from a horrific ACL and MCL tear. So hopefully he's back to his old self.
Yeah, elevating him off IR was just announced today on Friday. So huge news, because yet again, the Rams, where they did struggle mightily again, was the red zone, obviously settling for 4 field goals. So, so that is a big news, getting Higbee back to try to do that. So, but yeah, the last thing I was going to say, whatever hair product Sean McVay uses, not that I need any hair product, obviously. You do. You have great hair.
As a connoisseur of hair products, I have tried and failed with many.
But in the cold, rainy sleet that was abound up in the Bay Area, his hair looks fantastic the whole game. Doesn't wear a hat, doesn't wear a hood, just lets it ride wet and wild. Looked great.
I gotta know what it is. Like, why no hat? Why no hood? Cover it up.
Never wears a hat or hood ever.
Yeah.
Gotta just let the locks flow. But he's always got the 90s spike. You know, I love that we always called it the ski jump back in Colorado.
Yeah.
When I was growing up. So always got to rock it. I wonder what he looks like in a hat. Never seen him in a hat. But if I'm ever on a Zoom call with him, like a media Zoom call, and we get like media time to ask him about like the next opponent, I'm using my time to be like, what hair product do you use? I got to know.
Yeah. Inquiring minds must know.
Must know. There we go. There's the quote. So, all right, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. This is the Rams Skinny here in the LAFB Network. We appreciate you listening. If you have not already, please hit that like and subscribe button on our YouTube channel. It's Rams LAFB. If you have not found it, really easy to find, Rams LAFB. All of our Rams content can be found at LAFBnetwork.com, or if you prefer audio listening, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, just search Rams Skinny and you'll find us there. So everyone have a fantastic weekend. Rams win 8-6, playoffs looking good. For Skinny T, I'm Ryan Durrett. We'll talk to you guys all next week.